Where you went to that corner shop that
Now down here.
this one you went.
Can I wash my hands?
Go please. What do we do today?
We were doing a thing for
The form has to be completed. I forgot that both the poems could have done it together.
We share the water.
Mana ada suami punya lah. Kalau tak punya.
Or I guess to form.
You can see all the videos.
I'll set for you have done so much of the written work.
I have done some and some I got it from CBSE.
Why you missed it? It's only 6 lines for you. How come you missed it?
No, I mean the notes.
You got it from?
I got it from a senior.
Okay. Alright, to form. So this has not been done in school.
It's done.
Then you were there in school.
Yes, it was done.
You were present for this poem.
No, I mean the notes in the book which is written, some were written from my senior and some I had written.
I agree with that, but I'm asking you, were you present?
Yeah, I
when
was
it
present.
What is for? What is
No,
then you read from them.
No, ma'am, I closed the book.
That's okay.
It comes secretively and it engulfs the city or whatever place it is. It comes like cat, comes very quietly and it goes very quietly, vanishes when the sun comes. It is an four,
It's like
six, what do you call it? Like,
Pattern.
6 line poem.
six.
Six.
Alright, this one, yes, it is compared with cats. How cats come. The cats also come very silently. We will not know the cat till the cat doesn't rub against your neck or this one. And they are like, as we say, the king of the world. When they sit, like they don't require you. They are above, they are below you, looking down at you, right? So like that, the fog also it seems like it's hovering over in the air and it's looking down at the city landscape. It's looking at the harbor. It's looking down.
Usually, beside the coastal plains or the coastal areas, fog
You
is.
find this quite a lot of fog there. This, and specifically north side, you find it here. Okay?
Village side also in Maharashtra also. In village side.
Yeah, you will have. For when it is winter time, you have fog and all that. Alright, Carl Sandburg was well known. Read.
Carl Sandburg was a well-known American editor and a writer, above all best known for his poems. He has won 3 Pulitzer Prizes.
Yeah, Pulitzer is one of the most highest reputed, like how Oscars for movies, like that.
Pulitzer Prizes, in which 2 were for his poetry and 1 for the bibliography written.
Biography. Bibliography is different. Bibliography is references.
Biography written about Abraham Lincoln. He began his writing career as a journalist for the Chicago Daily News. He worked in various centers before turning to a full writer and even joined the military, but was never called to a battle. Most of his poems were about Chicago, where he lived. Among his collection, The Fog is the shortest poem and a poem that has strong reflection.
Yeah, so he lives in Chicago. Now, Chicago is also
It's a port
experiences
city.
experiences a lot of fog.
In the poem Fog, Sandburg has put in hardly 25 words, but yet the poem does have a deeper and stronger meaning. Carl Sandburg's poem Fog is among the few exceptions that mark Sandburg's break from free verse poetry. Fog, a mere 6 lines long, it is written in verse form and is an innocent expression of finding beauty in an ordinary world. The first 2 lines of the poem just simply describe how fog comes in. Usually fogs are seen in cold areas or in mountains or forests. However, in this poem, the poet describes about fog in cities and a harbor.
Yeah, like we don't admire the smallest thing, the most insignificant thing. So that he teaches you to admire the things in nature. The poem is missing. Anyway, read the fog poem.
The fog comes on a little cat feet. It sits looking over the harbor and the sea, on silent hunches and then moves on.
Yeah, so just comparing the fog with the kitten.
He gives a wonderful comparison between the fog and a kitten. When a kitten comes around us, most of the time it just comes so slowly that we hardly notice till you see it or feel it. The same is the case with the fog. An arrival of fogs cannot be predicted. It just comes in and engulfs the entire place and entire place that it is and stays on for some time, creating trouble for anyone in between, but still stays as though it is not aware of the happenings around.
Correct? Now, for example, if you talk about kitten when it comes and it like wraps around it sometimes because you don't notice it because they have soft pads, right? So they walk on soft pads, you will not notice it. But sometimes you may stumble over it. So even when the fog comes and specifically when it is foggy, you can't drive. It comes quite and suddenly you find it's very foggy. and it's a living entity. That's what the poet has said. It's a kind of a living entity. It's personified form, and it says like it doesn't see what trouble it creates. It is not aware about what trouble it creates for others. You remember, you're driving through a fog. If you've ever been to a hill station and driving through a fog, you
It's
have
quite
to,
risky.
yeah, it's quite risky, and you have to extremely slow down to 10, I think. So that's the this one.
Like to
Otherwise,
on the parking lights.
yeah, parking lights cut through the fog.
The narrator further develops the comparison between cat and fog in the second stanza of the poem. In this stanza, the fog has arrived above the city where it sits looking over the harbour and city much as a cat does when it arrives at its
You
destination.
know the cat sits on its haunches, right? You know how cat sits, right? When it sits on the haunches. So it's here also it's showing, like poet has compared the fog. It's also waiting, like quietly and looking down at the city and the harbour and all that from a height. Okay?
The cat will sit and look out over the land or cityscape. Cats from wild to domesticated have a habitat, maybe an instinct,
Habit.
have an habit, maybe an instinct of looking over their surroundings for elevated spots. For example, the cougar.
Cougar is yeah, it's a cougar. Cougar belongs to the cat family, na?
Oh, it's an animal.
It's like a panther. Cougar is a panther. You have never seen a cougar, and you have never heard about a cougar? Yeah.
Oh,
Puma.
The name is cougar, not puma.
what's a puma and a cougar?
It is. Oh,
They're all similar.
yes. It's also called a puma, a mountain lion, or a cat mount, or a panther.
It's a
That black
bigger,
one is a panther.
bigger cat.
Looks very similar to cat.
Which is all tiger, lion, all belong to cat family.
This looks very similar.
Yeah, it looks very similar, but if you see here, it is not similar. If it comes to the meat of cougar, it will not survive. It's a wild animal. Look, it eats. Come on.
Uh, Cougar watches from the mountain top or ledge. The lion from a hill overlooks the plains, and the house cat gazes from a tree branch or window ledge.
Yeah, so like that, like, how they sit and they observe the whole world below them. It's like that. The fog also is like that. It's compared the sun to the cats.
In each case, the cat acts as if it is the master of its universe, yet it holds many secrets that are never revealed. Cats are notoriously fickle,
What do you mean by today?
notoriously
They are nobody's friend. You see.
they're very
No. Today
cheater
is
kind of.
not. It's called cheat.
No, because usually people say like if you keep a dog, it will save you. If you keep a cat, it will one day
Yeah.
or the other day.
That is what I said. Killing cats are like fickle in the sense that they are nobody's friend, as we say. Like they will not be there for anyone. They will be only for themselves. That is called fickle. Like for example, fickle another example is like for example, you like one day one movie star. The next day you like somebody else. So you are also fickle. You are not like you don't
Not committed.
constant yeah to one person. That is called fickle. You ever fickle? So the cats are fickle like that.
Refusing to be trained or to
Succumb.
succumb to others,
Succumb.
succumb to others' expectations.
Give in
of
to
them.
other expectations.
Sorry.
And give in. Succumb is that.
They-
Succumb is also when you succumb to death. That means you have passed away. Okay, succumb is that. Means here it means give it. Like they will never give in. Like people expect them to be loving, to kind, like
Will
yeah,
loyal.
yeah, loyal to you. It never happens. But it's actually a myth, depending on what kind of this one it is.
Similarly, the fog, because of its power and mystery, remains exclusive to those wishing,
Elusive.
elusive to those wishing to break through its impenetrable walls.
Elusive.
Penetrable.
I said elusive, you say penetrable.
Protect,
No,
keeping a distance.
elusive is when you cannot catch it or touch it or like, you know,
They have to just stay alone.
like Bollywood movie
Like
stars,
if you
they want to meet a movie star, they are very elusive, they will not come and you cannot go and meet them as per your wish and with their family. It's when they wish them. Like you,
Like,
when you want to touch the clouds, but when you
yeah, when you go to
Saucy.
touch it, it's going to be, huh?
they're more bossy.
Or see different.
Like what they want, they will do.
It is like when you cannot touch anything or when you cannot catch anything, that is elusive. That is elusive, okay? So what happens is when you want to meet them, you will not be able to meet them. When they feel like meeting you, then only they meet you, that way. That is called elusive. Or as he gave an apt example is like when you try to go to touch the cloud becomes elusive. You can't catch a cloud like that. Impenetrable, so you know now what is impenetrable, that cannot be penetrated. Okay?
The narrator.
Wait, this is the same thing. Now, here.
Next, the narrator states that the fog is sitting on silent hunches
Haunches.
Haunches.
Haunches, how the cat sits. No, they sit on the hind leg and their leg is like that, nah, that is called haunches.
Haunches as it looks out over the harbor and city. And indeed, few creatures can sit as silent creatures.
You say create, don't say creatures, it's creatures.
Creatures can sit as silently and patiently as the cat. Cat typically sit on their haunches as they stare out at the world.
That's why it's compared as the fog is compared to the cat.
This particular stance, unique to the cat, enables them to keep watch over their surroundings, but also be ready to take off if necessary. When a cat is on its haunches, they cannot be captured because it's easy for them to escape with a quick jump. This stance also implies that their presence is always temporary. Cats, like fog, are always ready to move on when it pleases. Finally, the narrator explains that after looking over the harbor city, the fog then moves on. Cats are known to be wandering creatures, stopping for a time and then moving on from destination to destination. Again, the fog is compared to the cat in the fog, in that the fog hovers silently, but it never stays in one place too long. Fog either rolls on to another destination or disappears altogether. The next whole line of the poem states that it just can't sit at harbor and looks at the city and is at silent haunches and then finally move on. Here the poet has described what happens once the fog has arrived. Now fogs as such do not cause any harm as it is silent and the onset is slow. However, when the fog is around, especially in the city, many accidents occur for the only reason that people cannot see anything in between.
There are occasions when people fall into telephone poles, cars may hit into each other or onto each other. People may walk up the wrong place at the harbor, boats may drive up on the wrong bridges, or they may drive up on another boat, and many such instances. Therefore, a fog just comes in like a small and silent village and just sits and watches the beauty. But when it is over a city, the incidents caused by the fog are many. And the last line states that just a small child who gets bored playing the same game over and over again, or just by seeing the same sight again and again, and moves on the next. Similarly, the fog also does not stay in one place for a long time. After some time, this is a very small poem describing the nature's act in a beautiful manner. After the pranks are over, the fog also moves on.
Okay, that is the meaning of fog. Show me. So fog, when we talk about the fog comes on little cat feet. So little cat feet are the small, like you get hidden cat feet. It sits looking over harbor city on silent conscience, then moves on. So he's saying that. So now this is a metaphor. You know what is a metaphor?
Uh, I think what you mean is not what
That is right. Here it means when you compare two things in direct comparison. So if I say you are the giraffe of the class, I have compared you to giraffe, right?
No problem.
Yeah. So like that,
so it's the
it's a
opposite
direct,
of personification.
Like describing someone.
it's a comparison. Keep it to that. It is not opposite of personification, that's a different context altogether. It, simile and metaphor are two things which compare. When you talk about simile, you will use as and like. Okay? When you talk about metaphor, you take a direct comparison, you directly compare. Got it? So here the fog and the kitchen is compared. That's why it is a metaphor. Alright, to show how silently a cat comes, the same way the silently the fog arrives in the city. Alright?
I mean, even in the last line, they are sitting on silent
Hunches.
hunches, and then moves on. Actually, what moves on? The cat or the frog?
The fog. It is comparing that and it moves on. It's saying that like it sits like how cat, like as I said, like cat is a kind of a predator who will sit on the higher ledge and then look down to the world. Like that the fog also
That's
does it.
Egyptian cats, how they sit.
Yes.
Yes.
And that is haunches. The cat sits on a haunches. If you see tiger, lion, cougar, a panther, they will always sit like on a haunches. And they are always on, if you see cats, this one, they will always get a high place. We will never find them at low place. So especially when they're eyeing everybody around them, they'll always be on a high place. They may be on the walls, maybe on the trees, as Mount Cougars were normally found in mountain ledge. There, and they will observe everybody down. So like that the fog also is like that. It will silently observe everybody around them. Okay. And then on silent conscious, when you talk about silent conscious, it's like very quietly it observes. Okay. It observes, it does mischief, and then it moves on. Right? So that is what the fog is all about. You all have the this one.
Volume? Yes.
So understood what is the metaphor?
Yes, ma'am.
Don't make mistakes, because of teacher asked. They are asked, that's all. As give it to me.
Poem. The poem is
Poems require. I just want to see whether your this one is given. Alright. Metaphor and analysis, this one is it. Analogy. Go through the questions, huh?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Good questions.
The fourth and the fifth. Read the fourth one. It's actually talking about here's how difficulties come in a
Difficulties come, but they are not to stay forever. They come and go, come and according to the poem. Difficulties, when faced by people, tend to leave them hopeless and shattered. It takes a lot of courage to overcome any problem and to solve it. If we take a clue from the poem and compare difficulties to fog, we find that just like fog, difficulties also come and go. One need not be hopeless and lose courage when problems come. One should rather think of it as fog, meaning that it has not come to stay but will always be. Like fog, problems are also temporary and they will go away like fog, as they cannot stay or travel anywhere permanently.
Wait, that means when we think about nature, he's taking a lesson about nature. So that way, when a lot of problems comes in a life, it never stays. It doesn't be permanent. It's a cycle of life. You will one day will be happy, one day will be sad, one day will cry, one day will yell. One day we think that it's the end of the world, but again then we again happy. So like that. It's like a circle of life. So like that how fog is temporary, even that problems, difficulties in our life is temporary. It will pass, but you have to have the patience to bear it up. Remember, difficulties, fog also when it comes, you are blinded. Correct? You can't see through. Difficulties are also like that. Like means you cannot see a bright shining light which will tell you that okay, I'll get out of that. But if you have that hope in your life, in your this one like okay, I'll get through that, then only you'll be able to get through that. So like that, and the point is definitely saying that like fog comes for some time, like that, even difficulties will come for some time, and then it will be.
So through the poem he wanted to.
Yeah, the message, what message he wanted, that is the message of it. Like what, like we can understand. Like how difficulties in our life, and also he's admiring nature. Two things which are there very prominent in this one, nature. Because he says if he loves nature, and he's very observant of nature. That's why he compared, he could identify the characteristic of a cat and the fog. He could compare them both. That's why it's a metaphor, right? He could compare them both, Vijay Bhaiya and that. So you can compare, that's why you could compare cat with that. The qualities are the same. Like how cat approaches very silently, the fog approaches very silently. And how the cat is sitting all over the world and looking down at the world, the same way the fog is also bigger. And how the cat goes back silently, the same way the fog also disappears silently. How it comes and goes. So these are the two things which are there. These are for this one. Read the fourth, fifth question.
Nature has many wonders that people take for granted and never pay attention to. How is the poem Fog different from this perspective? Answer. The poet has taken utmost pleasure in nature and natural phenomena like fog. The poem shows no conflict between man and the natural world. Rather, we see more of an observation of the relationship between man and his understanding of the natural world. Fog is so special to the poet that he cared enough not only to write about it, but also thought of its resemblance with other things in the world. In his close attention to fog, he found fog resembling a cat in the way it moves and sits on its haunches. The fact that such a resemblance was found by cat shows how connected he is to various things in nature. This poem serves as a motivation for people who take nature for granted to find such interesting comparisons and similarities around them.
Got it? So these are the two messages which is going through this poem. You remember this, you'll be able to do that. No, that's fine. What do you want? Long answer.
You know,
Imagery, what is imagery? Which imagery is used here?
can you give one example?
What is imagery? I told you not of imagery.
Image form.
Sorry?
It forms an image in our brain.
Oh, lovely.
That's what
You know what are your senses?
is.
What are your senses?
Feel, touch, smell,
Here,
vision,
Hmm.
hearing.
The hearing is called what?
We have silent consciousness. On silent consciousness.
Visual when you say that what you can see, right? So this is a visual imagery. What you can see because it's drawn, you use a lot of adjectives to describe certain things. So that is a visual imagery. Now listening is auditory imagery. Listening is auditory imagery. When you hear sounds like buzzing, humming, whistling, all those sounds, it's not there. Here it is more of auditory imagery. And
How is it you look at it?
I said here it is more visual imagery, not auditory imagery. Okay. Then you have touch, what you said. Touch is known as tactile. Look at me, it is not there.
This comparing.
Yeah, it is not there. Touch is tactile, like very soft and like velvety, when you say that. That is tactile. That is touch. Smell, when you talk about smell, is olfactory. Olfactory It's the sweet whiff of the fragrance that
We have it in Bible.
yes. So whiff of fragrance, I'm telling you about English. Fragrance, sweet, absolutely pleasant. So those kind of words will be used. So then it is a
All
olfactory. And the last is
which
gustative.
taste.
It's gustative. It's like pungent, spicy, all that. Okay. Why is that when somebody is coming?
So,
I thought somebody came.
I didn't know like no one teaches me.
So you also wouldn't have done?
No,
then we would have called up people.
Yeah, no.
Yes.
How nice of you. So concentrate.
Actually, mostly I think people would have gone to it's a long.
I know. I also was thinking, double thinking whether I should take or not.
Like quite of some of my friends they had gone to Market, but then they returned seeing the crowd.
You are the biggest when people go really 3 days, whenever they have, they all head to the nearest hill station. And that is the most, yeah, the first one is Lonavala, second one is Mahabaleshwar, third one is Mathera, because these are the distance. You have Lonavala first, then you have your Mahabaleshwar, which is little closer, then you have your Mathera, which is further than that, so like that. But that's the biggest mistake they make. Okay? Alright, fish, twins without, you know what is the twins without teeth, right?
Yes.
What happened?
There was a scientist, he does some experiment, he finds a solution or something, which I think accidentally falls on
You've seen Holoman? Holoman you have not seen.
Mr. Radio. Like Mr.
Okay. Holoman is the scientist, actually based on this story.
No,
Okay, not a true story. It's like come on, it's somebody they wrote a book and they made a movie out of it. Always remember that. So it's like this Solomon. He has this scientist, as in like he was a proper scientist and he discovered the result of getting invisible. Okay, but he uses it for his own benefit. He doesn't use it for the good. And he tries to scare the other the other scientists and all that, and he takes advantage of it. So based on that, this is story similar kind of that.
my math teacher is going to start to misbuild the order of this.
Which will the order.
in art school, I think we have only I think 4 chapters.
Yeah, you will be good. You are going to move ahead faster. Actually, if we didn't have got 1 hour Nina, you would have done at least half, more than half the portion would have been over. But you are getting only 1 hour. That is the thing why I'm not
In 40 minutes, a teacher completed 2 poems, that tree and a matter.
Okay, so we are talking about so like what we say is like we can Hanuman was extremely well so yeah. From his story only this one was there. So it's like that, like when you have a choice in your hand, it's basic this one is like that. When you have a choice in your hands, you can decide what to do with it. Especially when you make invention discovery. If you have seen this one, Oppenheimer, have you seen movie? You've seen, but you've seen that once he never meant it to be
So destructive and
Yeah. He didn't need to create death. That was the last thing he said. Huh? I have
now I
created.
become that.
Yes. So that is the thing. His intention was not there. It depends on our intentions in life
So the
or
country's intention was to harm its
to harm its
citizens.
citizens. Yeah. So it's like that. You know, we have in life. There's always going to be decisions in your hand. Depends on how you're going to use that decision. Or this one, the in footprints without feet, is actually like that. Like if you have a decision in your hand, how you're going to do it. So he took advantage of that particular thing. He went the wrong way. We always see, that's what we said, like when discoveries are made, it is made for people's benefit, it is not made for destructions. And like people who are like, like when you talk about World War, when you talk about that, what is the thing is what people take advantage of us being quiet. Right? And that's why we have to retaliate. The same way when you're talking about something which is in our hand, how you use that particular thing is what is very important. You are, uh, everything, every discovery was kind of an accident.
Most of it.
Most of it, from the invention of wheels, you know how it is.
Yeah. No.
We do
Yeah.
the
A stone man.
Yeah,
So
stone
he
is-
just pushed it from
yeah,
the mountain.
pushed a log, and then he realized that it rolls, and that's how wheels were discovered. When you are talking about even gravity, gravity also was discovered by accident. You see, Pythagoras' theorem was discovered by he was thinking about it, right? He was bathing, and then he said Eureka, and he ran. You don't know the story.
Yeah, and then he ran on the roads
Naked.
naked.
Yeah.
I found it, and he started jumping and all.
Yes.
All is pure.
Yes. So that is what it is. Like, depends. But people with good intentions will do good to the world. People with bad intentions will do harm to the world. This is exactly like that. Footprints without feet.
So I think he has a good intention, right?
Initially, yes.
But then he
He is used it because they have to pay rent and all that. That is there. So we
H.G. Wells, Herbert George Wells, birth September 21st, 1866, Bromley, England, UK. Death August 30, 1946 in 1895. Wells became an overnight literary sensation with the publication of novel
The
The Time Machine.
He wrote a lot of sci-fi. See, this is also based on sci-fi. He wrote a lot of sci-fi, and the Time Machine. If you see, even this one is there. A movie is there, the Time Machine, based on his story. Hollow Man is based on his story. The same thing what you do Invisible Without Me. But that was a scientist. Okay. Yes.
The book was about an English.
That's why he's in a war.
The book was about an English scientist who develops a time travel machine. He published The Island of Dr. Moreau in 1896, The Invisible Man in 1897, and War of the World in 1890. The Island of Dr. Moreau told the story of a man who encounters a scientist conducting the Jerusalem.
Gruesome. Very violent, kind of a thing. Very morbid kind of a thing. To like experiments on animals.
Experiments on animals, creating new species of
Yeah, his story is like he took one part of this animal, one part of that animal, how Frankenstein was there, and he tried to make a new
Even
animal.
I think Marvels, we had a
Yeah, so that is what he tried to create a new animal. That is
Guardians of
Dr.
the
Brown.
Galaxy. We had.
Yeah.
Background. Before we proceed, can a man become invisible? This is the story of a scientist who discovers how to make himself invisible. Does he use or misuse his discovery?
Yeah. So that the story is based on that. Does he use it or does he misuse it? And
And at the end, does he get arrested?
do you think
He not disappeared.
he disappears? Because if you can see somebody, then only they catch. Right? See, Mr. India had a watch. which was making him invisible. This person doesn't have. He has a drug which makes him invisible. Got it?
Griffin, a scientist, discovers a rare drug which can make a person invisible. His landlord dislikes him. Griffin,
He wants to take revenge on him.
he swallows the drugs and puts the house on fire. He puts off clothes, becomes invisible, and runs away.
So he wants to take revenge. He discovers this one to get invisible. See, that could have been used for armies and navies and all that, you know, when you're at war and all that. But instead of that, he decides to use it to take revenge. And he burns the house down. The very house where he's living. But he does face difficulty. You know, if you have bad intentions, the world is round and comes back to you. So that's
It was cold weather and he felt the need of clothes. He slipped inside a clothes store, had a meal, and slept at home.
there also, yeah,
PHE.
clothes.
Two attendants chased him in the morning. He was again homeless and clothesless. He loots a shopkeeper of a theoretical company.
Theater. You go to theater, they have costumes, right? Costumes and props. So he goes there and he loots them.
Company and catches a train to
Iping village.
Iping village to live in a village. The money of loot doesn't last long. He
Yeah.
steals money from clergyman's desk.
So clergyman is a priest. Okay. So he robs money from the priest. Then
To pay rent. Suspicion falls on the scientist when he pays rent. Mr. Hall finds the room of the scientist open. She wants to look into the room. A hat springs up and hits on her face. He points. The chair of the room becomes alive and forces Mr. and Mrs. Hall out of the room.
he's sitting there. So he just pretends like as if he's a ghost. Right? Because he's not wearing clothes. And yeah. So he's invisible to them. So that's what.
Suddenly, Griffin appears from nowhere. When Mr. and Mrs. Hall inquire about the theft, Griffin gets angry. He removes the bandages and
False nose. The nose. Remember he went to the theoretical company.
So
So he got a mask and this one.
falls. Now he was headless. The constable is called to arrest the headless man, but he is wounded by the
He attacks a constable.
Griffin and
Wait, that's it. And actually, this is talking about crime doesn't pay. You know, the amount of things trying to, and he ran away. But, he never has a home. He never has some place to stay. He doesn't have anybody close. He becomes the only loner in life. Got it? What happened? See, you read this.
The two boys started in surprise at the fresh muddy imprints of a pair of bare feet. What was a barefooted man doing on the steps of a house in the middle of London? And where was the man? As they gazed, a remarkable sight met their eyes. A fresh footmark appeared from nowhere. Further footprints followed one after another, descending the steps and progressing down the street. The boys followed fascinated until the muddy impressions became fainter and fainter, and at last disappeared altogether.
Now, if you see, when you come, you go to school, you go to do this one. Your head, in the rain, your feet is wet, right? And when you come and weather is dry, the ground is dry, your feet becomes drier, correct? The same thing happens. So the same thing, and suddenly if you don't see anybody, footprints appear, you feel like it's ghost type or something like that. But these children are not afraid of ghosts. They are fascinated or to see how suddenly this footprints is appearing. Anything which you have not understood in this, any word which you have not understood?
Imprints.
Footmarks. footprints, na? So that's what they say. Like imprint of a pair of bare feet. So he's not wearing shoes. So his feet, you can see the full feet. Understood? The imprint of full feet. When you, I just said, when you come out of the bathroom, when you have a bath and you come out of the bathroom, and you have not wiped your feet on the mat, and especially if you're talking about if it's the floor is kind of dark floor, and you walk, you will find imprints of your feet, right? Till you don't go and wipe it out, or till you don't go keep on moving on the dry ground, till that time your imprints are there. Once it is like you would, after some time your imprints will fade because of where the feet is completely dry. So that same thing happened. Anything else which you have not understood? They gazed this, they looked at. It's remarkable sight? Yes, it's remarkable. Why?
Because they wouldn't have imagined footprints coming.
Unexpected.
Yes, remarkable is basically it's unexpected, right? Because they cannot see the man, but suddenly in the air, the foot means suddenly the footprints are appearing. Right? Footprints only appear when we are physically walking, right? But if nobody cannot see anybody's footprints appear, so it's a remarkable sight. Okay? Progressing, descending, you know that. Descending is getting done, progressing is moving towards, moving forward. Yes.
Further footprints followed one after another, descending the steps and progressing down the street. The boys followed fascinated until the muddy impressions became fainter and fainter, and at last disappeared altogether. The explanation of the mystery was really simple. The bewildered
Bewildered is confused. Absolutely confused. They were wondering how did these footprints appear. So
What
the
magic it was.
yes, it's as if magic. So they were this way. The explanation was simple enough, they said, but the bewildered god had followed the scientists who had just discovered how to make human body transparent. So remember, even actually you should have watched Hollow Man. It's a kind of sci-fi. That's what you would have been this one. You would imagine if you're getting wet under the water, though you're absolutely transparent.
but then we can see it.
Yeah, it's like that. It's that visual effect is beautiful. That's it. So here, for them, this one is body
We
to
should just the post of that movie. Oh, yeah.
all of that. See, can you see here?
Yes.
He wears bandages and yes. He is a scientist who discovers that. I mean, the acting is brilliant, but yes, there are certain scenes which I can't say not to tell, but you will see. So it's anyway. So you would basically he keep on wanting her and like his emotions and all that. It's
He gets a little
uncontrollable.
shock.
Yeah, and he is like his emotions that they try to figure out how to stop him because he's invisible and he can run anywhere. See, he runs. If you see, can you see? He runs. So only water can see the imprint of this sun. It's not the light also.
So he also consumes drugs.
He takes an injection.
Nation. But actually, he was doing experiment on somebody else.
Correct.
And then, like,
Yeah.
he does it on it.
Yeah, once they see the result, he wanted to do that, like, how the person began with rats. He began with animals only, and then later on, when he tested on humans, now who do we get for experiment? Nobody will agree, so he tested it on himself. And that's how it led to that, okay?
Mostly done on animal, big animal, I think. So.
Yeah, yes. So animals he tried, and then he had to try it on himself because there is no human sex in this one, okay? Okay.
Listen, the scientists had carried out experiment after experiment to prove that the human body could become invisible. Finally, he swallowed certain rare drugs and his body became as transparent as a sheet of glass, though it also remained as solid as it.
Yeah, because it will not dissipate, right? It will not vaporize. It will be the
So
body
it
will be there.
was much harder than
It's like your body.
soft, but
Yeah, it's basically your body. But his body was there, but he was in
Just transparent.
transparent. Got it? Like glass, have you done it? Sometimes the glass is so clean, we feel that there's nothing there and you go and dash into it, it happened with me. I went and dashed into it. It's like that. The glass is solid, right? But you feel that nothing is there in the front of you.
Then I tried the same, but the glass broke.
I didn't try it. I unknowingly did it. Like by mistake, like I was walking, and like, I thought nothing is there in the front, and I walked.
Often it happens with me. My room, I used to close the door and I used to put in sleep. So dad used to think he's not sleeping, he's watching mobile and not, so he put a glass door, a sliding door. So often everyone goes and hits it. Because
It's like that.
so we had to stick some papers on it.
Yeah.
So that we could
No, that's what I said. More it happened. I don't know what I was walking in. This one suddenly
Starbucks or
yeah. It was like that, and I suddenly think nothing is there, and I just walked in half. I got hurt like that. So imagine the glass. How glasses is transparent. You can see through. You feel as if nothing is there, but your body it will be there, right? Solid like that. Which door you managed to break?
No, actually, like it was not a door. Actually, like it was something like I don't know exactly what it was. And I was running. My grandma was telling me stop, stop, don't run. And I just dashed into it. And I didn't understand what happened. And then when I saw glass pieces, then I realized that I'm completely glass.
wall that was
Alright, the
brilliant scientist, though he was Griffin was rather a lawless person.
lawless person,
Like he
criminal, kind of a criminal.
did not like
Yeah.
follow
Who
law.
doesn't follow law. So lawless person is kind of a criminal. Okay?
His landlord disliked him and tried to eject him.
Ejecting.
Eject means he throw him out from that house. He wants to pay rent, right? Eject. No, not that eject, not the airplane eject. When you press the button and the feet fly out.
Yes.
Not that eject.
Yes,
Eject it means that he wanted to throw him out because he was a renter, right? He was a tenant. The person who runs it. Tenant is the person who rents a house of somebody else, right? So the landlord has the power to eject you.
Yes.
Eject you means throw you out of the house. Here it means that, not the other eject button.
Eject him. In revenge, Griffin set fire to the house. To get away without being seen, he had to remove his clothes. Thus, it was that he became a homeless wanderer, without clothes, without money, and quite desolate, until he happened to step in somewhere and left footprints as he walked.
Correct, because nobody could see him, so he was walking, and like in order for him not to be visible, he has to make sure that nothing is there on his body because his body is transparent, right? So if you have clothes on your body, definitely it will give you the shape, it will give you the structure, but your face will not be visible. So you wear a hat because the head is solid, so your hat will be there, and your face will not be visible. So then you have to put a false nose. He does it because he puts a false nose, so put a mask over it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Scarf
and
around
put a
it.
scarf
Goggles.
around it, yeah. So you can see, I think we call him a hollow man. So like that. So he was walking, but the thing is what you are talking about London, it is being cold, it is chill. That means when you are
But in the movie, it shows that it became permanent for him, like transparent. He became permanent.
you will have to find an anecdote also for it. No? If you do not find an anecdote, how long you are going to say like that for me? And you have put chemicals in your body, you know. We
He escaped easily enough from the boys who followed his footprints in London, but his adventures were by no means over. He had chosen a bad time of the year to wander about London without June.
Yeah, so wander around and roam aimlessly. Okay, when you're roaming aimlessly without any this one specific direction, that is called wander. And then you're talking about London, London without clothes, because London is chill.
Very chill.
Yeah, you require an overcoat. London rains suddenly, so the temperature automatically drops. And if you're naked and roaming in London, definitely you're going to freeze. You get hypothermia. That was the wrong time for him to roam in London without clothes. It was midwinter. So definitely you get hypothermia if you roam like that.
The winter is always at peak in the
Yeah, midwinter. The air was
The air was bitterly cold and he could not do without clothes. Instead of walking about the streets, he decided to slip into a big London store for warmth.
yeah, like how you're in our mall we have ACs. In London mall you'll find heaters. Okay, so you'll find that. So whenever it is cold, you go to the wall which is pleasantly warm. The central AC system is there, right, in the malls. When you walk into the mall, you know the ACs are on, right, all over. The same way in that when you walk into the London mall, you'll find that there are heaters all around, centralized heaters, which provides you warmth so that you are not cold in winter. London is basically cold, that's why.
Closing time arrived, and as soon as the doors were shut. Griffin was able to give himself the pleasure of clothing and feeding himself without regard to expense.
Correct, because in malls there are cafeterias, there is clothes, so like he enjoyed himself. But
Like
food definitely is left.
Supermarkets and
Yeah,
all, so
yeah.
he could just go and pick up
So he did it. Now see, he broke open boxes and wrappers.
uh, and fitted himself
Out
Out
of
of
warm clothes. So he wore warm clothes, he took out from the box warm clothes and he wore that. Soon with shoes and an overcoat and a wide brim hat, he became fully dressed and visible person. When you put clothes on your body, that person becomes visible. When you remove it, they become invisible, like that. And in the kitchen of the restaurant, he found cold meat and coffee. And he followed up the meal with sweets and wine from the grocery store. So one we went to cafeteria, had cold meat and coffee there. Then we went to the this one grocery store and we had sweets and wine from there. Smart Bazaar, you have your Smart Bazaar which has you have your cafeteria. Let's take Max Wendy's, Starbucks. Cafeteria when you talk, okay, we take Starbucks. Okay.
because he also had coffee.
Yeah, so coffee and we take Starbucks. So like that. So you have these places there and you went and you did help himself to whatever he wants. That time there was no webcam. Remember, there's no camera to capture him at all. So he's enjoying himself.
Anything.
Yeah, he can do anything. So imagine that if you're visible, invisible, that can. But as I said, moral ethics again, how you're brought up and your moral ethics, how like, you can, to which level will you go down, that depends on that.
But if this happens in reality, then shops will get empty quickly.
Agree, but we still have cameras. We have infrared rays which can capture anything. So it's like that. Even if there's movement, there will be.
No, but not in all places. Not in all places, ultraviolet rays and cameras.
Agree, but me, most of the places have cameras. Now malls will definitely have. Because whichever this one. So here we are talking about a mall, no? We are talking about a mall only, na? So if you're going to Starbucks also, it will be captured. Because you're wearing clothes. Remember? Even in this one, even when he's opening the boxes, it would have been captured. Now there is no webcam here. Okay, finally settled down to sleep on a pile of quilts. So again, home center.
Quills will be there.
Yeah, definitely. So he slept on the quilts. Only
Quills is the bunch of wool, right?
no, quilts is a blanket, like the godari.
Yeah.
What is like you take old sarees,
Yeah,
old
quills.
this one, and you did it. That is quilts.
Get it custom.
Yeah, that is that is custom is like your aunt, your grandmother or somebody will make it.
So we are running into all these samosa. Actually, do you want to eat?
Eat na so.
Actually, you.
He's asking, he's offering you.
Oh, he's offering me.